The last and final episode of Peaky Blinders came out in 2022. Even though it's been 2 years ago now, in my opinion there hasn't really been a series that has competed with it. Peaky Blinders to this day is probably one of my favourite series, and with the Peaky Blinders film set to come out in the next 2 to 3 years, I wanted to go over the 6 seasons of Peaky Blinders and rank them from worst to best in my opinion. Each series has a unique storyline with different villains, different moods, different actors, and I wanted to go through each of them and rank them in order in worst to best in my opinion. Just as a side note, in my opinion, I do like all the seasons of Peaky Blinders, so even the worst rated one is still one that I enjoy to watch. Just before getting to the list, please make sure you subscribe to my channel, as I'm going to be releasing a lot more videos like this. So my 6th season on the list, which is my least favourite, is Season 4. This season is all about Tommy Shelby and his family in a war with the mafia. I thought the concept of this was very good, and the first episode of this season was actually one of my favourite episodes in the whole TV programme. However, I did feel that the season was a bit slow pacing wise, and I thought the last episode was probably the worst episode of Peaky Blinders throughout all episodes. I felt like the twist at the end didn't really pay off that much, and I felt like it was quite action orientated, where personally I prefer more political than strategic episodes and seasons. For me, the finale in this season was just really slow and was borderline boring, and because of that I'm ranking this season my least favourite. As a whole, I didn't really feel like the season did anything bad. I just thought that the other seasons outshined it. I felt throughout the middle of this season, such as episode 2, 3, 4 and 5, I felt like there wasn't very many scenes that stood out to me. I didn't really like some of the character arcs, such as Arthur's storyline, and some of the action scenes did fall a bit flat for me. The season I'm ranking number 5 is Season 1. Obviously this introduced us to Tommy and the characters, and is a very good season. It shows Tommy as a simple bookmaker and at the early stages of his business empire. Although this season was great for character development, I found that the storyline did lack a bit of flavour, and just wasn't as good as the others in my opinion. I did think the villains were good, and the first 2 episodes of the season were one of my favourite episodes. I just wasn't a huge fan of the ending of Season 1, and I felt like the storyline just wasn't as strong, which is understandable because Season 1 was mainly about introducing us to the characters. Overall, it was a good season, but it's still 5th on my list. The season I put at number 4 is Season 6, the finale. This season's very different from the rest. It had a very dark and almost sad tone to it. There's a lot of deaths in the season, including Polly Gray, Tommy's daughter, and with Arthur being on drugs most of the episode, Michael planning to betray Tommy, and John now dead. Tommy has a sense of loneliness throughout these episodes, and this is definitely felt and portrayed by the viewer. Tommy is suffering from extreme mental health issues, and even is diagnosed with a terminal illness. This made the whole season a bit slow and a bit depressing. However, I did think the final episode was a really good episode, and episodes 3, 4 and 5 did definitely pick up. I just felt like the first 2 were a bit slow, and in a season where you only have 6 episodes per season, I feel like the episodes do need to be quite fast paced. The third best season is Season 3. This is halfway through the Peaky Blinders story. Tommy at this stage has a lot of power, he has a business empire, and I really like the storyline with the Russians here. How Tommy risks his family, his business and everything he's earned up to this point to get to the next level of his success. The thing I like about this season the most is his relationships with his family. You see them go up and down throughout the season, and 2 of my favourite scenes were the season at the end where he's with his whole family, and the season with Alfie Solomons when he finds out Alfie betrays him. I feel like the season and the storyline as a whole were very gripping, and there were some plot twists throughout the season which kept it very enticing. My second best season is Season 5. This shows Tommy in a much more of a political light, and I really like what they did with Tommy and the show at this point. Tommy actually turns into an MP while still running his criminal organisation, and it shows Tommy in this kind of predicament where he's balancing a lot of things in his life, and he's trying to balance being a good person with being a bad person, being an MP while also being a gang leader, and this in essence is slowly ripping him apart. I think what's made this season so good is the main antagonist, Oswald Mosley. It's the only villain so far that Tommy hasn't actually managed to defeat. I think this adds a very interesting dynamic to the season. As a whole, it has some great scenes. My personal favourite is the scene with Tommy and Winston Churchill at the start of episode 6. This one has a lot less action scenes, but it's definitely more political and strategic, and shows the family and the business in a new light when they do have a lot of power and money now, but still face a lot of issues within the organisation. And my favourite season of Peaky Blinders is Season 2. This to me is the best storyline. After you get introduced to the characters, the businesses and the scenes in season 1, season 2 is all about how Tommy wants to expand and move his business empire into London. While doing so, Tommy overcomes so many different challenges in this season. Me personally, I like this because I like to see Tommy's ambition shine through in this season and see how thoroughly he wants to expand his business empire, even without the blessings of his family. For me, what makes the season the best is the last episode of the season, where there's a few scenes where Tommy thinks he's going to die, where he has the last scene with Major Campbell before Polly kills him, where Grace comes back in his life as well. As a whole, I think this season travelled very smoothly throughout the episodes. You get betrayals from Alfie Solomons, Michael comes into the family, so there's a lot of things going on. At this point of Tommy's career, I think Tommy is still on the come up and still looking to expand his business. And I like how in this season it's very much like territory wars, where Tommy's come from Birmingham and he's trying to take over London and there's friction there. But they're my seasons of Peaky Blinders listed in order of which ones I think are worst to best. I do think they're all good and I'm really looking forward to the movie. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and please subscribe to see more videos like this.